Hi guys, hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the new video. In today's video, I'll be showing you how you can apply for your spouse open work permit. If you are new to my channel, I also make videos on other immigration related stuff like how to apply for study permit, work permit, express entry process, and other helpful videos. You can look at all those. If you are married and you come to Canada, I'm sure the first thing you start thinking about is how you can apply for your spouse to come to Canada. And of course, one of the easiest ways for your spouse to come to Canada is through an open work permit. Now, if you came to Canada as a student, your spouse is eligible to come to Canada on an open work permit till the time you are a student in Canada. So, for example, you are a student and your studies are till December 2023. If you apply for your spouse today, he will get an open work permit till December 2023. So, his work permit will be valid till the time your study permit is valid. Secondly, once your studies complete, you would apply for a postgraduate work permit. And once you get employed under tier level 0, 1, 2, or 3, you can again apply for your spouse's work permit, which would be only after you get a job under one of these categories. But again, your spouse is going to get an open work permit of the time duration of which you have got your postgraduate work permit. So these are the two situations under which you can apply for your spouse's open work permit, and I'm going to show you the different processes how you can do so. So the first process that I'm going to show you is if you are in Canada and you want your spouse to apply for an open work permit, then he is going to be the applicant. Now what happens in this case is he is going to have to create an own IRCC account and then apply himself for his open work permit. The second case is going to be when you file an extension of your study permit. At the time you're filing an extension for your study permit and your spouse is already in Canada, you can also file for an extension of his work permit with your own application. Now, the third scenario is when you're applying for your postgraduate work permit. In this case, what I would suggest is to get your own postgraduate work permit and then get a job in tier level 0, 1, 2, or 3. And then your spouse can apply for their open work permit. But in case you already have a job in tier level 0, 1, 2, or 3 at the time when you're applying for your postgraduate work permit, in that case, you can apply for your spouse's open work permit as well along with your file. So it might be sounding a bit confusing right now, but I'm going to just show you how you can go through the different processes. So the first process I'm going to show you completely, but after that I'm going to show you how you can navigate through the stages.
So when
which
you
relate
are
to
in
you.
Canada and you're applying for your spouse is going to be the person who is going to be applying for himself through his own account. So you'll first go to the IRCC login page. The first link here is the IRCC login page. Here you need to sign in to your GC key. If your spouse already has an account, then well and good. Otherwise, you need to click on the link here to register, and then your spouse would be able to register a new account for himself. Once you have made the registration, you can sign in using the GC key. All right. So now your spouse is going to enter their username and their password to log in. You will continue from here and then you'll reach your application center where you can view any of your previous applications in case your spouse is doing an application for the second or third time. You need to go to start an application section and then you need to click to apply to come to Canada. Here you will go to the options of I do not have a personal reference code, and in the determine your eligibility and apply online section, since your spouse is going to be applying for an open work permit, this is your option. Once you go here, you will fill out this little form according to your own requirements. But for example, the question is, what would you like to do in Canada? So it's going to be work. How long you are planning to stay in Canada? It's going to be temporarily, but more than 6 months. And it also depends on how long your own study permit is for. If it is for less than 6 months, then your spouse should also click on the temporary less than 6 months option. Otherwise, he can click on the temporary more than 6 months option. Select the code that matches the one on your passport. So it's going to be for India. And then what is the country and territory of residence? So the country and territory of your spouse's residence is still India in this case, if they are applying from India. Then, do you have a family member who is a Canadian citizen or permanent resident? No, if it's none for you. Then you can select your date of birth. So it can be your spouse's date of birth. So I am just choosing anything for now and then click on next. Are you a lawful permanent resident of US? No. Do you have an LMIA? No. Then they will ask you, do you plan to work in any of the following categories? You can check if your spouse has to, but for most cases it would be no. So I am selecting no. Will you be coming to Canada under an active public policy? For most cases, again, no. So I am going to select no. Then this is an important question. They ask you that, are you a spouse, common law partner, or dependent child of a person who is applying for? So the first criteria under which you can apply for is a work permit for a job of NOC tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. So basically, this is for a spouse. If the spouse of the person, if the person is holding a work permit, then the spouse can say yes, or otherwise if they are having a study permit and they are studying as a full-time student at any university, college, or CJEP, then also yes. So yes, since I am applying as a spouse. And then, have you recently graduated from any Canadian post-secondary institution? No. So it depends, but most cases it's going to be no. They are going to ask you for your marital status, and then they are going to ask you for your province of destination, which I'm just selecting Ontario. You can select yours, whichever it is. And then when you click on next, they are going to show you your result, which will tell you what you are eligible for. So you are right now eligible for an open work permit from outside of Canada, since I was applying as a spouse who is living in India right now and applying for his own open work permit. So when you want to continue the application, you just click on continue and they'll ask you other questions afterwards. So let's see what those questions are. What type of work permit do you want to apply for? So they'll ask you, what type of work permit do you want to apply for? So just select what it is going to be. So in your case, it's going to be a work permit for a spouse of an international student or a family member of a worker. So this is going to be your option. Then, are you accompanying a family member that has a status in Canada? No. Then they ask you if you have been committed or been arrested. Have you had a medical exam performed by IRCC in the last 12 months? So it would be yes if you have already got your medical done. Do you want to submit an application for a family member? No. I am assuming only the spouse here is going to apply for the work permit. Are you giving someone else access to your application? No? In the past 10 years, have you given your biometrics? So I am assuming it would be yes if you have already given. If you haven't given them yet, you can also select no, and in that case they'll also charge you for a biometric fee, and then you can give it. Actually, I think that if your spouse is coming for the first time, then no would be what you'll be selecting, and then biometrics would also be something that you'll need to do. So I have selected no right now. This ask you that there is fee associated with this, would you be paying it? So you'll say yes, I'll pay my application fees. And then would you be able to make digital copies of your documents? Yes, in this case as well. Will you be paying your application fees online? Yes, so you can pay by a Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or any other Visa, debit, or MasterCard. Then they'll ask you to finally review your answers once before you submit them or continue. So you will continue if after you have reviewed everything and everything looks correct. You can continue to the next page. They have given you a few steps. Just read them carefully because they help you to guide a bit about how and in what formats you will need to submit your documents. So for example, your documents need to be in PDF or Microsoft Word documents, or if there are any photographs, they need to be in JPG, TIFF, or PNG format. Then you will continue further and you will reach the application page or your checklist page. So this is your document checklist. Now here the first and the very important thing is the application form. So a lot of people, they even now write me in the comment section that they are unable to download their application form. So if you click it directly, it might not open. The best way to open it is to right click and then click on save link as, and then click it somewhere on your desktop, save it somewhere on the desktop, and then open it. For example, directly it might not be able to open, for example what happened just right now. So yeah, you just need to save it on your device, on your desktop, and then open it later. Once you have filled it, you need to save it, verify it, and then you can upload that saved file. Then the supporting documents that are required are, there is another form which is family information form. Of course, since you're applying as a spouse, then you'll need to enter information for your spouse, then your passport photograph, your digital photograph, and your medical exams proof is required. Then there are a few optional documents as well, which are not mandatory but optional. Then as you see here, they have charged you a work permit fee, a biometric fee, and an open work permit holder fee. So the total comes to $340. Once you submit everything, you will get a biometric request, and then you can go ahead and give your biometrics. So this was the entire process if you as a spouse are applying from India for your open work permit, if your spouse is in Canada on a study permit or even a work permit.
So now comes the second scenario where you are in Canada as a student and your spouse is also already in Canada and has an open work permit, but your study permit is expiring and you are applying for an extension of your study permit, and you want to apply for your spouse's extension of open work permit at the same time. So I'm going to show you how to do that.
So again, this time you will be opening your own account via IRCC, as this is you who are applying for an extension of your study permit, and then side by side also applying for your spouse's extension of work permit. So you will click on apply to come to Canada, and then you will click on study, work, or visitor visa. You will select what do you want to do in Canada. You will say study because you are on a study permit and want to extend that. How long are you planning to stay in Canada? Temporary, more than 6 months. I'm assuming your studies are more than 6 months. Select a code that matches the one on your passport. So it's going to be India, as you are still an Indian citizen. Then they're going to ask you what country you are residing in. So you are in Canada because you're already studying and you're going to extend for your study permit. Do you have a family member who is a Canadian citizen? No. And then you just fill in your date of birth, which can be whatever is yours, and then you will click on next. No, you're not a lawful permanent resident of the US. What is your current immigration status in Canada? So you let them know you are a student currently in Canada. And then what is your marital status? Tell them that you are married. What is the province of destination? You can choose any. Then they'll tell you that based on this, you are eligible to apply for a study permit. You may be eligible to extend your stay in Canada as a student. So you'll click here on this option which says continue. Alright, so once you click on continue, they're going to ask you a question. Are you accompanying a family member who has a status in Canada? So here comes the thing. You will say yes because you're accompanying your husband who has a status of an open work permit currently in Canada. So you'll say yes. Do you also want to apply for a work permit? Yes. Sorry, no, because you don't want to apply for a work permit, but you want to do it for your spouse. They are right now asking if you want to apply for a, say, co-op work permit. So I'll assume that's no in most cases. When does your status expire? So they are going to ask you this question. So just for example, it is December of this year, 31st. Have you had a medical exam performed before? I'm assuming yes, so it's going to be yes in this case. Do you want to submit an application of a family member? Now in this case, it's going to be yes because you also want to submit an application for your spouse. You'll say yes. Are you submitting? If you're submitting application for more than one family member, please start with your spouse. So for example, sometimes people submit an application for their spouse and also for their children. So the first application that you put in is going to be for your spouse. So just write the details of your spouse. What country does your family member live in? So currently they live in Canada because they already have a work permit. You are going to extend it. Which country issued the family's passport? It is India which issued their passport. Then, is your family member a permanent resident of US? No. What is your family member's current marital status? Married. Then they're going to ask for their date of birth, which you can put in. Then where will your family member be staying in Canada? So just type the province of their stay. What is the family member's current immigration status in Canada? So here you will let them know that they are a worker. They currently have an open work permit. This is what you will be putting. What does your family member want to do in Canada? What do they want to do? So they are applying for an extension of their open work permit. So here you select this option and then click on next. Does your family member want to restore their status in Canada? Yes, he wants to restore, of course. Has your family member has had a medical exam? I am assuming yes. If not, then they'll ask if they have stayed outside of a designated country. The answer to that in most cases would be no, so it's fine. Biometrics, I'm assuming in this case you both must have given them since you're already in Canada. So I'll say yes. Fees required, yes, I'll be paying fees of my family member as well. Do you want to submit application of another family member? Now in case you also have a child and you want to extend their status, you can say yes. Otherwise, in most cases, I'm assuming it's going to be no. Are you giving someone else access to your application? No. In the past 10 years, have you given your fingerprints? I would say yes. And then there are fees associated with the application. Would you be paying fees? Yes. And then it's going to be almost the same thing. You can make digital copies with scanner, etc. So yeah. Alright, so this is the entire process. Once you get through it, you are again going to reach the final page, which is going to show you the checklist of the documents which you need to submit for the application. You just need to verify that all the answers are correct, after which you'll reach that checklist. And again, once you submit all the documents, the forms, you should be able to submit the application. So here you can see this, see the documents. So you'll see the application form is there and the supporting documents, and then you'll see your family members application form. So your spouse's application form is going to be different, and then these documents are for your spouse. And then the total fee is going to be 605, which is your study permit fees and then your spouse's work permit fees as well.
Then the third case is when you are on a postgraduate work permit and your spouse has to apply for extension of their open work permit. The only difference there is when you're selecting that question where they ask you, is your spouse on a study permit or they are on a postgraduate work permit, or if they are a worker, you just have to select the option that yes, they are a worker in tier 0, 1, 2 or 3. So that's the only difference. Otherwise, the entire process is going to be the same. I'm sure after watching this video, you're going to find it a lot more easier to apply for your spouse's work permit. If you really like the video and it helped you, please click the like button and do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, if you have any questions, you can ask in the comment section and I'll make sure to reply to you. Also, you can message me on my Instagram channel. I've also put a link in the description box through which you can contact me one-to-one and I can help you guide through the entire process of whatever you are doing regarding your immigration. Do share this video with your friends and colleagues as it would help a lot of them. Thanks guys. Bye.